Kuleana, brought to you by Hawaii Food Service Alliance and Domino's Hawaii.
Kuleana, our responsibility. Join us as we explore and connect with the land and sea of Hawaii. Chefs, farmers, ranchers, and others share their vision of sustainability and food security for Hawaii. Protecting our natural resources for future generations is our Kuleana.
So harvesting ama crab, what it does is it provides protein or a pupu dish that everybody can enjoy. And what happens is we take away pressure from like only scraping opihi or only catching kumu, right? So by catching ama crab, we're diversifying our catch so that we put a little less pressure on the reef in the system, or in this case, foraging. There's a couple ways you can gather or you can hunt. You can jump in the water, you can spear fish, you can throw out line, you can catch a fish. Coastal foraging is we're kind of going along the safer part of the tide pools and the shoreline. And then we're gonna gather what's available in that area. So you'll shine with the left, and then we'll shoot, and then we'll grab with the right. So what we're doing is we're scanning the horizon. So before we start walking, we're gonna scan to see if we can see any crab. I can see it right there. It's kind of moving because there's a little bit of light. Okay, so this is our first ama crab for tonight. Okay, let's go onto the dry side because it's a little shallow here. Oh, check this out. Wow! This is a treat. It's called kupe'e. These are really highly regarded because they taste delicious. After we cook them, we take the snail out, we clean up the shell, and then we donate them. There's a ton, but we can come back. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Go, whack it hard. There you go. Okay. Good try. It's important to teach the next generation, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but it's culture, it's history, it's how our ancestors lived off the land or how they sustained an island without shipping lanes and things coming overseas. They were sustainable right here in Hawaii. You know, I think what makes it fun is when you get to share these experiences with friends and family, like Parker here. She's never done this before. It's a new experience, and she's learning about the tides and the moon, and she's learning about ama crab. She's never caught one before, so yeah, I think it's really fun.
The only way to really know where your food comes from is to grow it yourself. At the end of the day, you either need to know your farmer, or you need to know exactly where your vegetables are coming from, or you need to grow it yourself. In our case, we took the grow it yourself method.
Yes. We want to bring to life real farm to table. You know, you go and visit these places in the mainland, and you know, they advertise farm to table, and you know, hopefully they're sticking to their guns, and it actually is. But to bring life to and have our customers see, you know, your beets are growing here, you know, you're eating them as vegan poke, and the cucumbers that you're eating are coming from the farm, and so is the kale. You know, it's such a experience for people, you know, and hopefully it's inspiration to others as well, you know, to go and grow your own food, you know, if you want to.
When people start to try to reorganize nature to suit monocropping or to suit their specific needs, and you start removing some of these natural processes, that's when you start having to use these chemicals or start doing things that you really don't want to do to food. And so we're trying to find ways to work with nature rather than against it.
You know, and then we, you know, trying to grow food everywhere here. Yeah. So like papayas and everything going down. This is all have tea leaves going up. We got some sugar cane going down. And it's basically going to be a grocery store.
You farm on the land, you live off the land.
100%, because I mean, food shouldn't be that scarce. So I started doing more livestock, having food available, and then, you know, that comes with making relationships with the farmers.
I feel like so many people traveling here want to see what old Hawaii used to be like, and it's just incredible.
Hey!
I'm Michelle. Nice to meet you, Michelle.
So she owns Farm to Barn in Haleiwa.
Yeah.
Corn growing in there.
What do you guys do with your dragon fruit?
My daughter will sell some.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Come sell me some.
Yeah.
I'll make lemonade out of it.
And like, you know, this is part of the whole thing.
Again, it really just brings back to life like the old way of living and just like the full, you know, the food cycle, how it used to be, how it should be. And I feel like we have so much agriculture land here in Hawaii that, you know, is really not being utilized. So it's people like this, you know, and farmers like this that are so passionate about food and about the land.
As a sustainability technology, first of all, I believe has to be environmental friendly. Say, aquaculture, you generate a lot of waste. And those waste, if you go to the ocean, and then will pollute the ocean. So in our system, we are self-cleaning up. We have a sea asparagus cleaning up, and then we have algae cleaning the water.
We're with Dr. Sun at his sea asparagus and limu farm. And what's really interesting is Dr. Sun explained to us that it's not his product that's special, it's his technology. So I am extremely intrigued because I love his limu and I love his sea asparagus.
This is the seedling house. Basically, we grow the sea asparagus from the seeds.
Okay.
And then the seeds germination, and then they grow in the greenhouse for about 1 month to 1.5 months. In terms of agriculture, you know, the seedling is the number one kind of key. You have a good seedling, and then you have a good plant. Strong seedling, strong plant.
So do you harvest your own seedlings here, or do you guys have to?
We collect the seeds.
You collect the seeds,
yeah,
okay,
our
and you
own
do-
seeds.
okay,
So
gotcha.
make sure they got kind of adapted to this environment.
Dr. Sun, where are we going right now?
Oh, we're gonna go to the pond, saltwater pond.
Saltwater pond.
Yeah.
The ponds.
The ponds,
Okay.
they raise the sea asparagus and together with the limu algae.
Got it, got it. And so how do you get the salt water into the pond? You gotta carry buckets.
And actually, though we have a good facility, there's a saltwater well
Oh, okay,
close
gotcha.
to the ocean, and then they are naturally filtered.
Is that all sea asparagus?
Yeah, this is all sea asparagus, the platform. Kind of looks like a...
Wow, there's choke. There's plenty.
But the feature is here. You see there's algae limo. That's the feature. So that's because of the sea asparagus. They clean the water. And then the limo so happy to grow here. Imagine all the open space full of limo.
Oh.
That's how we have the limo.
So the sea asparagus helps to clean out the pond, and then because the pond is clean, the limu grows.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's happy,
Yeah.
so it just keeps growing.
Yeah. So
Oh,
you
my
don't need to
goodness.
bring the limo to here because it's naturally on the bottom or in the air. You just need to create the right environment.
Where are we going, Dr. Sun?
So we go into the tank.
Gotcha.
So you can see how we wash it.
Oh, these are some big tanks.
Yeah, big tank. Yeah. It's industrial scale.
Wow, that's a lot of limu.
Yeah, kind of first step here, throw them in the water, turbulent to separate the mud from the algae. So all the mud is washed out.
Gotcha. It's subtle.
Yeah.
It smells like ocean.
Yeah, smooth ocean. So this is a kind of a roller separator, but to make sure it's a good quality, we have to do the inspection. Yeah. So you shake. Right?
Wow.
That's all.
If we can somehow get back to having Hawaii self-sustained like it used to be when our ancestors were here, that's why it's important to use local ingredients. This sea asparagus, Dr. Sun was right. It's crispy, it's crunchy, it's got a salty, briny ocean flavor. I It pairs well with the fish. I can make 100 things with this thing. Being able to self-sustain, it's the goal. It is the goal. Then, you know, we can really pull back on relying on tourism for income. And it's important because what if the super rare case where shipping lanes close? What do? How do we survive, right? Everyone's gotta learn how to farm, or has got to know how to farm, or have to have access to a farm. We've got to know how to gather our own coastal foraging or hunting or fishing. It's so important. We all have to do our part to learn more and get educated and partner with the right strategic partners to bring this education to everyone. And I think we did a great start with meeting with Dr. Sun today. Ocean pesto. I think that's the step in the right direction, is the ability and open-mindedness to be willing to be educated and learn about it. And like Dr. Sun opened my eyes today, I would love to learn more about his operation and other operations just like it, because the technology that he has to sustain this island, he's using this really interesting technology to grow food with salt water. And we're surrounded by salt water, and he's got this beautiful, beautiful product. Education is key. I mean, just if we break it down, like I'm on a super small scale, Instagram and YouTube, like my whole mission for my YouTube channel is to show people that you don't have to only catch papio or kumu or uhu. There's so many fish out there. And if we can diversify our menu of what we gather from the ocean, then there's gonna be fish for generations to come. And that's the space where I worked and started. And then now it's leading me to all kind of opportunities and meeting people like Dr. Sun.
Hawaiian sailing canoes have been around Hawaii and throughout Polynesia for thousands of years. And it's a very integral part of who we are as Hawaiians, as Polynesians, and our connection to the ocean. Such a big part of where we are today, you know, with the sustainability issues.
Actually, I was born here and I've never been on a sailing canoe experience on the west side. It was really eye-opening. I think a lot of my conversations revolve around agriculture, it revolves a lot around food and land. You know, so to be a part of the conversation about what happens on land also affects the ocean and how it affects the reef and how it affects, you know, marine life.
Tourism is the #1 economic driver in the state of Hawaii.
How do you think we can manage the tourism versus sustainability here in Hawaii?
There needs to be a balance between resources being available for the people of Hawaii, right? The people who live here, raise their families here, and also being able to share those resources with people who come to visit Hawaii. What is tourism in Hawaii? What do we want to see moving forward? It's a tricky one, you know, and I think right now, at least it's kind of moved in the philosophy of regenerative tourism, right? Being people coming out here to help give back to the resources that traditionally have just been overtaxed for so long. Sustainable tourism, ecological tourism of that nature. I think now people are much more in a mindset of wanting to come out and learn about that and learn about, hey, how do you guys manage these resources? How are you gonna keep them available for future generations?
Again, it was a really kind of grounding experience when you get to be a part of the ocean, but also talk to the locals that have been doing it for so long. I mean, Nicole is amazing. What he started with his business, you know, I think is so great for the local community as well as tourists, because you learn a lot about the west side, you learn a lot about how, you know, what happens on land also affects the ocean. From, you know, Mauka to Makai is just, it's an incredible experience.
The clarity is amazing.
But it was a great opportunity, you know, for me to just, you know, talk about with Chef Kale and Nakoa about, you know, what we're doing here at the cafe, tying in agriculture and the health of the soil to the ocean.
The ocean is a part of our life, a way of life for us, but it's also our icebox, you know, to be able to come out here, use what we need, take only what we need, and make sure we're doing it in a way that keeps it sustainable for the next generations is a big part of that.
Even though these plants are not necessarily food sources, they're the frontline barrier to protect our valuable agriculture land. So the shoreline plants will enable the rest of the inland agriculture to be able to start doing rejuvenation, add food crops, and prevent the erosion from pushing more and more back. These are kamani trees, so these will grow to be beautiful, tall Hawaiian forest trees. They can go 80 feet, 100 feet.
Oh.
These are the biggest of the native trees.
On the shoreline?
They live not right on the shoreline, but in the shoreline area they can thrive. I'm gonna show you this hole that we've been baking for 8 weeks now with 50 pounds of fish guts. So if you put these organic materials into the ground, over time, the microbes will just be in the soil and then you plant it. But just like good cooking or good food, it takes time. You gotta let it bake for a little while.
And what, just like that?
Yep.
Oh, that's
Water
so
up.
cool.
Give it aloha.
She's thirsty.
And then when you actually do the planting, it's in an environment where it can win.
I love it. You're making bogoong. You're making bogoong in the soil. I love it. I love it.
So all of these that you've planted are working in harmony.
All these brown seeds are falling to the ground and they'll just naturally sprout up. And you've got our rows of naupaka. These are our baby naupakas. You've got our pohina-hinas. As we walk down the shoreline, you'll start to see these pohina-hinas find the naupaka and start to cruise and live together.
Kidding.
And then they gang up against erosion
Really?
and they
cool.
collect all the sand for fun. Okay, so now we've taken out all the California long grass. This type of nice native ground cover can just start to flourish on its own. And as we go down the shoreline, you can see every Milo tree is seeding, it's spreading naturally, and it's not having to compete.
So if this is a 2-year coastline, how long until you're perfect coast? How many more years?
In 2 years, this whole place will be perfect coastline.
Yeah?
Yes.
So Adam, as a business owner here in Haleiwa, how does all of this affect our food system?
Because a lot of plants that are food sources may not be tolerant to high salt levels. So it's important that we keep that balance of shoreline, agriculture land, and then at the same time organically rejuvenate it.
We went foraging for the ama crab at the beach, and then we're gonna go grab everything.
Mahalo for coming, taking the time to come and see what we're doing here, because it all takes, it takes each of us to really do what we can to take care of our aina and each other.
Doing things the old ways rather than relying on the new ways. We're looking back as what was successful before and revitalizing those things, Sitting here eating ama crab, it's like those things come back to me because growing up here local, like the stench of because you grew up eating ama crab, you grew up eating dry aku, you grew up doing all these things. And then nowadays, I find myself enjoying those things, but then going into regular life and then walking amongst people who haven't enjoyed those things because they don't know nothing about it. These are the things that need to be back. And this is something I needed, Chef. This is something I needed.
Brah, no, hey, appreciate you guys, brah. So, the ama crab brings back some childhood memories.
Oh, major.
I love it, brah.
Major.
So this is coming along nice.
The education aspect of, I think, what your guys' whole vision is here is so needed in our community, in a world that is just like mass produced and fish and beef and, just like necessities that can be grown here in Hawaii are shipped in from the mainland and sprayed with pesticides so it can grow faster, and to hone people in, reel people back in, I think is just, it's refreshing. And I think that when it comes to our community, people like you, leaders like you that are at the forefront of, getting our land back to what it used to be is such a great example. So
We start here, then we look towards the mountain. and create the ahupua'a the way it's supposed to be. Healing the land the way it's supposed to be. You start where you are at, and then you expand to the pieces that you can. If we can't get there, then we can't get there. At least we can try. But then touch bases with landowners and talk to people, because there's so much vacant land that's underutilized and being neglected. We were talking about this earlier when we were driving through the farm. When my kids want to eat chicken papaya, well, we'll go harvest. You know, there's very little ingredients we need to purchase, if any.
I love it.
You know, and those are the things that need to come back. You know,
but connection to food is so important, because right now, where's the connection, right? You roll up to McDonald's, I take one number 6, and then bada bing, you on your way, right? So connection to food, that's a huge thing. Absolutely.
You know, there's always something that we can do.
Try sample, see how that forage organic meat is. Bro, sample some of this Akula, you guys.
Amazing, Chef Kale. Thank you.
Incredible. And so it's such a beautiful thing for us to really be able to bring to life true farm to table, regenerative agriculture, and everything that you guys are doing here, plus, you know, really just sourcing things from where you know it's from.
And that goes right back to all of our food. Heal the aina, heal the land, heal the people, make food.
It is time for us to come together as a community. Each of us has a role in shaping Hawaii's future. We learn from the past. We live in the present. We create our destiny. To connect and learn from each other is our Kuleana.
Kuleana, brought to you by Hawaii Food Service Alliance and Domino's Hawaii.